Today we're going to cover one of the wildest biotech moves in recent memory, SPRB, that just exploded on the 6th of October, and by exploded I mean a triple-digit move in a day. We're going to dig into why this happened, what makes this FDA catalyst different so we can learn to predict similar moves in the future. If you are into catalysts and wild story stock trading, this is one you don't want to miss. Let's first set the stage. So on October 6th, SPRB announced that the FDA granted Breakthrough Therapy Designation to its lead candidate, which is a medicine for a rare syndrome called Sanfilippo Syndrome Type B. That news triggered a massive rally. The shares jumped over 1,300% in intraday trading. The stock closed the day at around $130, up from a much lower base, and in after-hour trading, it added a further 34% as more participants digested the news. Now, why is this FDA catalyst special and different? I'm going to break down what I think the main factors for this crazy moves were. Number one, the fact that it was an ultra-rare disease and unmet need. So Sanfilippo B is a fatal pediatric genetic disorder with no approved therapies. If there was any approved therapy for this particular disease, it would have been different. But in this case, when you target a condition with no competition, any positive regulatory move carries outsized weight. Number two, the fact that it was specifically Breakthrough Therapy Designation. So Breakthrough Therapy Designation is more meaningful than Orphan Drug, for example, or Priority Review in my eyes. In fact, studies show that Breakthrough Therapy Designation is the second best FDA catalyst to predict abnormal stock returns right after Fast Track. Number three, the fact that they made a comment about the surrogate biomarker that is reasonably likely to predict clinical benefit. So in the announcement, the company cited integrated long-term data where their treatment normalized the disease biomarker. And the FDA accepted that this biomarker is reasonably likely to correlate with clinical benefit. And usually that means that it opens the door to accelerate approval via surrogate endpoints instead of large multi-year outcome trials. Number four, neglect and setup. You can see from the daily chart here that the stock was going sideways for a very long time here, forming a very long base going back to March 2024. And you can see there was very little liquidity, very little volatility there. Number five, price action. And now going back to the chart, the daily chart here, actually the intraday chart, and you can see that the price action pre-market on the day was very strong, with the stock actually surfing above VWAP all along and never going back and testing VWAP. In other words, this was not just another FDA bump, this was the perfect storm: the ultra-rare disease, the strong biomarker data, the breakthrough status, low expectation, neglect, and momentum. And here's something very important to remember. Not all breakthrough therapy designations behave the same way. A very good example of a stock that behaved very similarly is Ionis. So Ionis received a Breakthrough Therapy Designation for its candidate ION582 for another rare neurological syndrome. Just like SPRB, it's targeting a devastating condition with no approved therapies, and the FDA granted breakthrough therapy status based on promising early biomarkers and clinical data. The market reaction was very strong, as you can see here. Very, very similar. A gap up, very strong action on the day, and the stock actually rallied ever since. It's been rallying since September the 3rd here. The reaction was not as parabolic as SPRB. It didn't have a 3-digit move on the day because Ionis is a much larger, more established biotech company, but still a very clear positive surge that validated the same kind of setup. Rare disease and unmet need, surrogate biomarker evidence accepted by FDA. The comment of the FDA is very, very important. Strong early data that could support accelerated approval. So what this shows to me is that when the breakthrough therapy designation is backed by solid biomarker data in an ultra-rare disease, the market often rewards it significantly. That said, not all breakthrough therapy designations behave like this. For example, DYN and Rare both received breakthrough designations recently, but their stocks barely moved. Here is DYN. As you can see, it received the Breakthrough Therapy Designation here, and rare is another one, and it must have been sometime here. And so for both these cases, so they received a Breakthrough Therapy Designation, but their stocks barely moved. And those cases, the expectations were probably already high and already priced in, and the designations didn't meaningfully change the approval path. Or even when there was a clear path to approval, the data that they shown was not perceived as transformational as for SPRB or IONS. So while SPRB and IONS both reacted strongly because their Breakthrough Therapy Designation actually changed the outlook of their entire programs, others like DYN and Rare didn't, highlighting that the context behind a designation matters more than the label itself. Now, going back to SPRB, there was a move around 12:30 that just caught everybody by surprise, and I just want to have a look at that and see what the potential considerations for this move, what happened there. So this is a bit trickier because I can't really pinpoint or confirm what happened there, but some plausible dynamics that could have caused this extra acceleration around this time could be that institutionals and algorithms are scanning for news and they entered positions around this time. And other potential explanations could be option expirations or even volume and liquidity. I don't know really what happened, but maybe a short squeeze as well, backed by social media. But this stuff happens sometimes, and if you're on the right side of the trade, of course, and they tend to happen, they tend to be on the same side as, say, the bias that you have based on the catalyst. So again, 12:30 isn't a magical time per se. There isn't something special that happens around this time for breakthrough therapy designations or FDA stuff in general. But it's when enough momentum, volume, and participation converges to push a breakout into hyperdrive. And that's when things go parabolic. Now, a few days after the initial move, SPRB is still holding up well with 2 green days following the breakout. I expected it may have a slight pullback or even just go sideways from here and potentially go a bit higher from here, though I don't think there's much more upside based on this news alone, but they could come up with other news. However, additional positive data and partnership news could definitely take it even higher. And if this works, SPRB could become a case study in how one FDA decision can reanimate a dead biotech, because literally SPRB was a dead biotech, as you can see here. It was trading at around, well, okay, $9 before the news, but now it's trading at $177. Okay, so this was the story behind SPRB jaw-dropping move, the news, the FDA catalyst, why it was so special, how the midday momentum likely accelerated things. If you like this breakdown video, hit the like, subscribe, and ring the bell, and feel free to drop a comment. Thanks for watching.